Which villain do you sympathize for? And why? The guy in Meet the Robinsons, poor fucker. Skeletor, the true heir to the throne and rightful ruler of Eternia, passed up for being mixed race. So he acted out, causing an accident that disfigured and fatally wounded him. He was left for dead by a family with magic powers, having to resort to serving evil and living out the rest of his days as a skeletal shadow of his former self. Asterisk 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 wah? Asterisk 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 nobody has said Wile E. Coyote. That poor guy's entire purpose in life is to fail. 9 unbreakable rules of Wile Coyote. Mr. Freeze. Just a guy willing to do whatever it takes to save his wife from dying. The Wicked Witch of the West. Dorothy killed her sister, stole her shoes and refused to give them back. King DDD from the Kirby franchise. The dude gets possessed every Tuesday to the point where he's not doing any evil villain stuff. Also he cares and tries to protect his kingdom. Just take a look at Kirby's adventure. He took the Star Rod from the Fountain of Dreams to protect Dreamland from Nightmare himself. Tom from Tom and Jerry. Doofenshmirtz. He was a hard-working man in a difficult childhood, always being overshadowed by his younger brother and a baking soda volcano. He has broke the boundaries of science that almost seems impossible but is ignored throughout his career as a scientist. As every man does, he seems to have trouble finding a place in the world. So he tries to commit to poetry only for that dream to be snatched away and crushed in front of him. He was a man with a vision. A dream to take control of a small government, to change the lives of many surroundings and many people, but desperate times call for desperate measures as he's forced to take drastic measures to fulfill his dreams. He wanted to be a loving father and give his child the childhood he never had. He was a visionary at his time that society didn't allow, which demonizes him to a gross pulsating image of a man that could have brought hope and light to a better future. Spoilers for a 24-year-old movie ahead. The villain from The Rock, General Hummel, was just trying to secure military benefits for his soldiers killed in Black Ops authorized by the US government. This money was supposed to come from a slush fund from illegal weapon sales also perpetrated by the government itself. And his threat against San Francisco was initially a bluff. He was basically trying to look after his men, but became desperate after exhausting the proper channels. Edit. Wow, did this blow up? Woke up to 200 notifications. Geez. Hades. In the Greek mythology, he pretty much drew the short end of the stick in becoming the lord of the underworld. Captain Hook. Kronk. The man just pulled the wrong lever. Ice King. I mean, before he got the crown, he was a really good guy. The crown messes up anyone who wears it. Megamind, because let's be honest, he was only the villain because of bullies and an overachieving Superman wannabe. Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets. People don't understand how bad real OCD is and how it changes people and the pain they suffer. If you hate which side of the bed you sleep on and think it's OCD, maybe it is. But you have no idea how bad it gets. The boss in Metal Gear Solid 3. Because she was only a villain because she had to be. That was the role assigned to her. She was loyal to her mission and to her country until the very end. Snake. History will never know what she did. No one will ever learn the truth. Her story, her debriefing, will endure only in your heart. Everything she did for her country. She sacrificed her life and her honor for her native land. She was a real hero. She was a true patriot. Tom from Tom and Jerry. As a child, I always thought he was bad and Jerry was the good one. Later the show's creators said it's the opposite. Also, the actual plot of the story is that Tom likes Jerry and they're friends, but if he doesn't chase Jerry, the owner will think he's lazy and useless and throw him out and get a new cat. Who'd probably catch and kill Jerry. Tom, being his friend, doesn't want that to happen. So he chases him but keeps failing to catch him just to please his owner. He was never meant to be the villain. Nolan's Harvey Dent. Luke Castellan, he was manipulated by Kronos but ended up pulling through and sacrificing himself for the greater good. Same for Selenia, but she was never really a villain. Frankenstein's monster. The dude was created by a power-hungry narcissist who chopped up a bunch of dead bodies and sewed them together so he could brag about creating life and elevate himself to God level. Then, the narcissist rejects him for being ugly and leaves him to fend for himself. To make matters worse, the whole entire world also rejects him for being ugly. Assumes that he's a monster because he looks like one, and physically attacks him. He eventually takes shelter near an isolated cottage inhabited by a family. He befriends the blind father and does favors for the family. He grows fond of them and feels like he finally has found people willing to accept him, but the rest of the family were afraid of him, and one day, he finds out that they fled their home. Feeling hurt, he sets out to find the narcissist who promises that he'll create a partner for him so he won't be lonely. Then the narcissist changes his mind and destroys all of his research that helped him create the monster. The monster kills everyone in the narcissist's family so he would know how it felt to be alone. Then, he vows to kill himself because he essentially became the monster that he was made out to be. It's such a tragic story about love and abandonment. But everyone gets so wrapped up in the horror aspect of it. I always felt sorry for the monster because at the end of the day, he just wanted a friend to accept him for who he is. Zuko. My first time watching. Even before his arc. It was just so heart-wrenching seeing him doing everything just to be loved and accepted by his people. His father. The Lords of Cinder. Each and every one of them gave their lives to save the world again and again. Even though it was more of just keeping Gwyn's dream alive, and not actually saving the world. Except Aldrich. Eating children is kind of fucked up. Invader Zim. I just want him to win so badly because I want every single member of his species, including the tallest, to realize he is somewhat capable. Although he is at times his own worst enemy. Also Doofenshmirtz because despite his increasingly tragic backstories he was an amazing father to Vanessa. Dr. Octopus. Otto Octavius is just as smart as Peter Parker or Tony Stark, but because he grew up in an abusive home, he never learned enough confidence to be endearing like these two, and no matter how much he applied himself, other geniuses kept belittling him and brushing him aside as an uncharismatic lame-ass nerd. Basically, he's a version of Peter Parker that didn't have a social support network and turned evil due to years of being unappreciated and having his work constantly overshadowed. Robbie Rotten. How dare that damn Sporticus try to get me off the couch and be active. Anakin went from child slave to child soldier and then had every one of his concerns and fears brushed aside. Probably still doesn't excuse the child slaughter though. Sandman from Spider-Man 3. Yes, he killed Uncle Ben. But damn, his last scene in the movie makes me emotional when I remember it. Dude just wanted to help his daughter. Man, his confession with Peter just shows how remorseful he is for doing that to Peter. Hades from Disney's Hercules. Pretty shit that he got the underworld while his bros got sky and sea. Dr. Doofenshmirtz from the second dimension. He lost his choo-choo. The Grinch. Everybody was a bag of dicks to him and really he just wanted to belong. Megamind. Just a tragic backstory. Team Rocket Jesse and James. If you've seen Pokémon episodes, this needs no explanation. Pain. Nagato. He was being manipulated from the very start. Lost his parents and friends to a war being fought in his village. And thought his whole mission was to change the world when in reality it was just to do someone else's dirty work. Magneto. In the end all he wants is peace. He saw the horrors of humanity. Edit. I got the Reddit silver thingy edit. I got 2 silver thingies. Plankton. He is adorable. Dudley Dursley. Emo. He's more the product of horrible parents than an innately horrible person. He watched Vernon and Petunia abuse Harry from an early age and he imitated that behavior. Dudley was clearly never very smart, and his parents did nothing to help him improve in any way. They told him he was perfect, coddled him, gave him whatever he wanted and fed him till he was morbidly obese. In real life, a kid raised like Dudley wouldn't be prepared for the real world at all. Dumbledore even sort of says in the 6th book when he visits the Dursleys that Vernon and Petunia have fucked up Dudley more than they did Harry. Also, in some of Harry's last few encounters with Dudley, when both of them are nearly grown up, Dudley seems to be polite and even apologetic to Harry, perhaps grateful that Harry saved his life. So I get the impression that Dudley isn't beyond hope as he's capable of feeling humility, guilt, gratitude etc. rather than being a total sociopath like Vernon and Petunia. ETA. I know he's more of a bully than a strict villain. But Voldemort and Malfoy were already mentioned and I think Dudley is also worth feeling sorry for. Carrie. Cause when you're a 16-year-old teenager girl and everyone treats you like shit for no reason and when it's prom and you find out you win prom queen but it's just a cruel joke and pig blood is dumped on you. Who wouldn't do what she did? Jason. Being bullied by a group of kids cause of how you look then pushed into a lake and drowned when counselors are supposed to help you. This has got a lot of upvotes. Did I actually make sense? The bad guy in Shazam. The original Shazam guy just straight up told a kid that he was worthless, like it's normal to be tempted to greed and shit like that when you're a kid. But just cause the kid was no exception. Black Shazam told him he was worthless and ditched him. For real. If I had a guy tell me I was going to grow up to be nothing when I was a kid, that would have fucked me up too. Doofenshmirtz, I mean even his mom missed his birth. Dr. Horrible. Captain Hammer was a douche, and how bad can a guy be if his best friend is named Moist? Galactus. The devourer of worlds. He destroys worlds and saps up the life force of entire populations, but after all he's just an integral part of the universe and as required as other primal forces. Loki from the first Thor movie. He's a morally questionable person, but I think he was the better choice for King when Odin was out of action. No one had any reason to think Thor would turn out to be a decent person all of a sudden.